Hey friends, today is the Flux Dev Meeting for August 21st, and it's the US time slot. We've got me, Mateus, Deepti, Kingdon, and oh, hey, Adrian's here now as well. Adrian, I didn't see you join. If you want to add stuff to the meeting topics, please just jump in. So far, we forgot to hit record, and so we've talked about a couple of things. Mainly that we're still pinging customized maintainer team for feedback about the emit string data pull request and test suite that we sent there. If that gets merged, then we can also work on a bug fix for some customized merge behavior and contribute some documentation. Then that needs to filter up into kubectl uh, as part of their KYAML library usage. And when that is fully percolated up into kubectl and Kubernetes, then we can vendor that into Flux and get the new customized feature. So hopefully we'll make some progress on that. Um, and then Deepti mentioned that she's working right now on RFC 10 with a bunch of Azure support for a couple of things. Some bits are blocked, mainly on, if I remember correctly, the image APIs, but you got some stuff merged and then are going to be doing buckets soon. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, that's about accurate. Yeah.
And then we started a discussion for what's expected in the 2.7 release is a planned deprecated API removal. So this is very notable for any Flux users listening in, as well as, of course, contributors and end users on the call. We've been discussing how the V1 Beta 1 and V2 Beta 1 APIs from back before Flux 2 GA release. We've had those included in the modern controllers as a conversion hub in the CRD for a long time. And I think it's time to finally say goodbye to our historic APIs. They have not been the storage version in etcd for many, many Flux releases, but if you have very, very old clusters, there are migration steps that are necessary in order to make sure that there are not old objects in etcd that will be, unreadable when you upgrade Flux. That involves running the Flux migrate command. In the notes, we've also linked some improvements to the image automation APIs, which are pre-GA, and those will be um, making some planned field deprecations, mainly around the secret standardization that Mateus and Kapizawa worked so hard on. Just deprecate some fields, and that's early notice for you to start moving to some more up-to-date and standardized ones. That's pretty much what we've talked about in the meeting before we hit record. So nice little succinct YouTube transcript for folks who are jumping in after the fact. I know that we have some contributors who watch um, these recording recaps. So um, Adrian's here listening in. If you did want to talk about the hotel stuff, I left one review comment for you just recently. And last week we had a meeting discussing various parts of the hotel RFC as well. So at this point, that's the end of my monologue about things that we have discussed in the past 20 minutes. Am I missing anything, team?
That was a good recap.
Okay. I'm glad that I'm on the same page. Try to doing active listening. Um, Mateus, you were just talking about the deprecated fields. That was the main thing, right?
Yeah, you already covered it.
And
So,
if I take the notes correctly, that PR that you linked in Flux 2 is actually for the field deprecations, not for API removals, right?
I linked, so the first one I linked is the API removals, and
Oh,
the
okay.
second one is uh the image automation API is going GA, and as part of that, some things are removed.
Yes. Okay. Some removals, some deprecations.
Yeah.
Great.
And again, also the proxy field inside the secret reference to the secret and provider API from the controller is now deprecated and is replaced by spec.proxy secret ref,
Mhm.
secret dedicated for proxy, and the deprecated field inside the secret will be removed in provider v1.
Yeah, the fields will be deprecated and removed, and then we would expect API removals for that to probably hit sometime next year.
Yeah.
Maybe. We don't really have a policy right now for how long those things bake. It's taken us a very long time
I
to move V1 beta 1, V2 beta 1.
Yeah, not sure about anything documented, but for this one, at least I remember in the chat, Stefan saying 8 months
Yeah,
between removal and between deprecation and removal.
I
yeah.
think we started with 6 months and we may have worked our way up to 8 months. This is more conservative, more aligned with the Kubernetes release schedule.
Yeah. That feels fine to me. Three Kubernetes releases. In practice, it'd probably end up being 9 months or something, but
Yeah.
yeah, we do the removal at the 7 or 8 month mark in the code base.
We also removed something. We deprecated something in the Azure Event Hubs, right, Deepti?
Oh, we
Or
just moved that was an internal thing. It should not impact, like there were some field changes that is, but like that was internally handled where the Go package was on an older version of Azure SDK and we moved it to a newer version. I think the user facing change would be, I think before when we were giving, if they use SaaS connection strings, which nobody should because it's not a production solution. But if SaaS connection strings were used to connect to Azure Event Hub, then the way the new SDK accepts the Event Hub path is that it needs the entity path given explicitly, as opposed to it was figured out by the older SDK internally. So that would be a change.
but there was also that other
Oh,
token,
the
right? The
jot,
token
yeah,
that
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah
That was the other one.
that they would right now be rotating
True,
with
true.
some cron job or something, right?
Yeah. Again, not a production solution, but yeah, if they had a solution around what we have given to rotate it using a job, then yeah, I don't think we've removed it yet. We've marked it as deprecated.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, I
like
don't think we removed it, but it was just marked as deprecated, right? I'll check, double check 1 second.
all right. But I wish we remove it. There's still time to update and
Let
remove
me
that
check.
one. Like, yeah, like I think we agreed on keeping SAS because it's easy to test, right, in development, SAS string. But the other one I think we can remove.
Sorry, I zoned out because I started reading PR feedback that somebody had just sent me. I don't know what the last three sentences were, but if I need to take a note on something, just say it again.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to remove specifying a token for authentication with Azure Event Hubs in Notification Controller. We will keep SAS string, but we remove token.
Oh, okay. Is that like being deprecated on the cloud provider control plane side, or is it like just like a bad practice or something? Or
It's
But
probably
I
something
think,
that nobody uses.
yeah, and managed identity is a preferred approach, which handles things in like a more superior way in a passwordless way. Whereas here, I think the user would have to get the token somehow using either a job or manually, and then update a secret
Yeah.
with the token in it, which is less secure, exposes the token. And I think there is a better way available with managed identity that folks should move to.
Yeah, that authentication method was probably introduced because that's what the libraries expect as, oh, I need a token. But probably the documented ways in Azure to get that token, like that that it's, I guess in the Azure documentation, there's probably nowhere saying that this is how you should do it, right, Dipti? Like
Yeah, I
how do
don't
you even
think,
generate that token? Like
yeah. No, I don't think that's like I haven't seen anywhere in that being suggested that get the token and manually put it in a secret. So yeah, it
Does
is
that
yeah,
alienate
because
somebody
the
from?
token is short-lived. The
lived. Yeah, it's
token is
like it
short-lived.
expires in 1 hour actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's
So
not
yeah,
possible to generate long-lived tokens
Mhm.
for that service. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, thank you, Kingdon, for setting this up. Feel free to drop, and yeah, the recording will end when we close the meeting, presumably. Um, cool. Um, yeah, I mean, if it's not possible for people to authenticate that way, then I guess that my main
I mean,
question was like,
it's not impossible, but it's not like a realistic setup that anybody is probably using.
yeah, it
Like, do
just
you remember you said you said you did that that the example with Chrome jobs for container registry authentication, right?
yeah, in like 2019 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's a similar thing, like it's a short-lived thing that requires something like that. And we also removed that for be- like because of RFC 10 as well. So it's like same reasoning, right? Like same.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if there's no reason why this would alienate a user to remove that authentication method, then that sounds fine to me. Um, yeah.
And SAS, as Deepti said, we like decided to keep because it's a quick way to test things
Mhm.
despite not being recommended for production.
Hmm. Well, well, do you have any end users that you've experienced who are making heavy use of image update automation, maybe at peculiar scale or in places where they're running into um, like maybe some resource limits or something? Uh,
Not really. I think even in our in the extension that we expose for Flux, image automation controller is actually not enabled by default. It's
uh-huh.
something the user has to explicitly enable. And I
Yeah.
don't think we have a lot of users who use that. I know of one with Azure DevOps, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I don't think very heavy usage or very heavy scale.
Okay. Yeah, like for the 2.7 release, I'm kind of considering changing some of the Badger DB settings in the image policy reconciliation loop because just consumes a lot of memory
Did
for
you
what
see that comment
I
in the
did.
issue? It
Yeah, they
your
just
work
said
did like it did
it
have
has
an
helped.
impact, man. Good job.
It has helped is better than nothing. But
Yeah,
and the
yeah. He didn't
user
say much, right? Like he used
they
like four or
provided a lot
five
of
words.
details about how it was breaking, right? But they didn't provide details
Yeah,
after the fact for what the
of
statistics.
how it improved,
Yeah. But but
but
I
it's
would
good.
expect that based off of the benchmarking that we did, and the heuristics and the changes and the research that it would help. And I'm glad that we got that confirmation from an end user who was running into the limits. Um,
Yeah,
but
the very user who opened the issue.
yes, yeah, that's very nice. Um, but God, that took so long.
Yeah,
Just like hours and hours on end of like waiting for containers to run out of memory.
So what's the memory footprint like before? It probably depends on the Git repository size as well, but what was it before and what is it now after the fix
Yeah, so
approximately?
the funny thing about this was that the main impact for this user of image policies and update automations is that reflector controller will, as part of using Badger DB, sometimes run into cases where it writes a value log file to disk. So basically, if your image policies don't fit into Badger DB in memory, then it starts writing to disk so that it can go and get stuff from the archive. But the thing that we didn't implement, that we didn't know when we used Badger DB was that you have to implement their garbage collection process yourself.
Mhm.
And so the end user's storage was running out every 7 days or so. And then it would get evicted. Kubernetes would throw away the volume, and then you would get a new
So we shipped
reflector
the
controller and it
gsync
would
to
just
GC.
restart. Um,
We shipped the gsync to .zip.
so yeah, I implemented a GC, did a bunch of research, and then the GC works. But what we did not do is change any of the operational parameters of BadgerDB. And BadgerDB is kind of built for a way different scale of keys than people who are automating container image tags probably need. So it has Bloom filters and parameters for when it stores the value next to the key versus when it's always flushing it to disk and all of that kind of stuff. And the end result is that if you have like a Raspberry Pi and you're only automating, a couple hundred images or something, it uses like most of that Raspberry Pi's memory. I actually haven't tested it on a Raspberry Pi. I'm just talking about Docker containers that I gave resource limits on my MacBook, but like the memory footprint for what it's doing over time is just like, in my opinion, way too large. Um, like we could easily be writing to like a 14 megabyte like JSON file, but instead like we're talking about Badger DB running out of memory in a gigabyte, you know? Like this is ridiculous. Like orders of magnitude way too large because it's optimized for hundreds of millions of keys. So like I'm thinking about changing those operational settings so that it doesn't consume so much memory because there's probably like use cases where you could be running these controllers ephemerally in CI, kind of like how we do in the D2 automation repo, that it's just going to consume a lot of your CI resources and just shouldn't. It's like,
Probably if we tune anything, any of those parameters, we should probably do it in a way that users can like go back to the
yeah,
values from before,
I
right?
honestly would probably like change the default and then just give a flag that says like big Badger DB. And it's like can put one of those hilarious notes on there that says, you know, if you're using hundreds of millions of keys, this does the old defaults or something. But
So these tuning, the parameters are tuned via like image reflector controller level flags,
there's
or
no
how did?
flags really for many of them. Like, well, I shouldn't say there were flags for like the value log size, but not the number of value logs. Like that can grow indefinitely. And so like the garbage collector has to like bound that, but it wasn't implemented. So like there's a few flags for Badger stuff, but the things that I'm interested in changing the defaults for, like we would have to make flags for those. And frankly, it's so complicated and like hard to like you really need to understand intimately how Badger DB works in order to really know what changing these options is going to do.
Mm.
So like I would be more inclined to like create some profiles or something. Because like you could just like really easily break like the entire storage and Like if somebody really wants to change their Badger DB values, like they can just modify the source code and build their own reflector controller.
Mhm.
But something like usable for the average system administrator, like using Flux, who like doesn't care what Badger DB,
Need to know about these things.
like yeah, we should just give them something that doesn't consume like hundreds and hundreds or gigabytes of memory
Mhm.
or a couple of container image tags. So that, that's just on my list of to-do items. I think we're shaped up pretty well for KubeCon as far as logistics stuff. I have a couple messages to send on that, but otherwise, that's kind of it for topics for me. Um, Happy to say that I just got a
Oh,
full review on the customized PR, so I'm gonna go and see if I can touch that up and get it merged. It's been open since April.
yeah.
Yeah,
By the way, I can now confirm my presence in KubeCon for the first 2 days. It was
sweet.
not confirmed, but now it is.
Confirmed.
We'll see you
Yeah,
there.
I booked my tickets as well.
Yeah.
Be there.
Viva la FluxCon. So great. Well, if we don't have any other topics, I think we've discussed a lot of stuff. Glad that Kingdon was able to record some of the meeting. I think I'm gonna stop the recording soon if no one has anything, and then we can follow up on any items by pinging each other in the maintainer channel or the contributor channel.
That's good.
Adrian, anything about hotel?
Yeah, sorry. I was
Oh, okay.
I was driving and I was just listening. Just I just saw your comments. I will tackle them right now. One thing that I was really interested is in in all the use cases that um, they would like to test towards. There's one about the OCR repository hem release that I would like if you can have a look, because that looks like we have a different convention for the for the revision and so on. I
Hmm.
think it could be easily tackled via coding, but I would like to know your view, because this might imply that we might have to implement some kind of logic to address this, and it's not as out of the box as the rest. So yeah, I just wanted to know your view. We can follow it up if you like in the comments.
I saw your comments on that, Adrian, and I wasn't totally following like when you say that the convention is different, because
Yeah.
it's an OCI repo, like are you expecting to find some sort of information that's
Mm.
standard across other types of revisions or
Yeah. The thing is that I mean to have, let's say, a unique trace, what we do is basically we get the alert UAD and then the
Mhm.
revision, and that's what is going to be underneath. So in this case, for the OCR repository hand release, you are going to have a collection of OCR repositories and then your hand releases. The OCR repository, the revision, it follows the convention that is the version, at, and then the checksum. But in case of the hand release, the revision follows another convention, which is the version plus and a small portion of the checksum. I've been going through all the, let's say, all the data, all the metadata populated in the hand release. We can get the same revision, but I need to somehow work on the logic to create it. So that was kind of my concern.
I see.
Yeah.
That's challenging because yeah, the Helm release has to like point to a particular like layer with like a MIME type filter and like what you're grabbing like outside what you're like getting out of the
Mm.
OCI
Yeah.
repo is could potentially be different than like what the OCI repo represents as a whole. Um, so how do we
I mean, in principle, the revision matches. The run is more about the format it has. Yeah, if you
yeah,
have
you might
the
just need to do some parsing to make it so
exactly.
that when we submit it that the spans end up with the same hash.
Exactly, exactly. So I mean the logic, it should be pretty easy. Just check the kind and just mock it and create the proper format. But yeah, that was kind of
That
my
seems like an okay behavior. It seems like something that we'd want to maybe include as an addendum on like the OTel docs, since like what's being represented in the API status is not actually what's being hashed, like it's being parsed and then
Mm,
hashed.
yeah,
Just so that it's because it ends up being a black box for somebody, but yeah, it
yeah,
should just do the right thing.
yeah, yeah.
Do you have
I can.
any allergic
Mhm.
reaction to that kind of magic, Matthias?
Nope.
No?
So looks good.
I mean, the APIs are supposed to be stable, so the format should also probably be stable, even though it's not technically promised in the string.
Mhm.
But I guess we would never be able to change that, which, I mean, no, I don't
Um,
ever imagine that we would.
so I have a question. In the use cases here in the pull request and notification controller, where you
Yeah,
have these screenshots
yeah,
from Jaeger, right?
yeah.
Uh, just make sure to have a set of those for all the intended use cases. Like,
Okay.
so is this scenario you said about like, so you said it's just about format, right? It's not,
Yeah,
so the scenario you were talking about here today, do we have it already covered in the screenshots and configuration example
yeah.
in the pull request or in notification
Yeah,
controller?
yeah, it's already there. I mentioned that in one of the comments below. Yeah, so I already, because if you see
Cool.
the screenshot, you might see that the let's say the OCR repository, it's part of a different trace from the hen releases, and
Mm,
it's due to this revision convention that we aforementioned. Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
so I mean that would be the most important for me. Like I'm of the opinion that we should start implementation before the RFC is merged, because only
yeah,
the implementation shows things that we just overlook on, or don't expect in the RFC. So
yeah, absolutely.
I am happy to see an almost ready to merge PR like this while the RFC is still not merged. Thanks for doing
Mm. Yeah, no problem, no problem. It's been fun, I have to say.
that.
Yeah,
Thank you for being very dedicated to this. I had not done a review until just today, and like the story that you put together and all the context, and it's all a very, very sensible change, and I really appreciate you like sticking to the format because it made it way easier for me to actually understand like what Stefan and Mateus have reviewed and what you intend to change, and everything feels very sound to me. So
okay. Yeah, no worries, and thank you.
I think like the only thing that I made note of, which does make sense, is just like there there's a note where we mentioned that we're not going to be instrumenting like detailed functions like within the
Yeah.
reconcile loop.
Mhm.
Um, and I think and it's like a maybe we'll expand upon it later. I would be excited if we did do that kind of a thing so that you could see, what particular actions Helm controller in particular is taking, or
Okay.
also customized controller. It just would be a great way to time like what is taking long inside of the reconcile loop, even for development, but especially for those use cases where users have many, many thousands of things and are starting to push the performance limits of their control plane in particular, the like
Yeah.
Kubernetes API server getting slow or something would be really nice to be able to profile that stuff. So uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting. Yeah.
yeah, this is very exciting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Well, that's probably all of our topics for today. And we can convene the meeting 11 minutes early. And sound good?
Thank you.
Sounds good.
See you next
Great.
time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Stop in the
See
record.